If you can't control your emotions, people will control you. And most people don't even realize it's happening. They think overthinking makes them smarter, safer, more prepared. But in reality, constant overthinking slowly rewires the way you see the world. It turns simple conversations into psychological battles, transforms silence into rejection. A delayed text becomes anxiety. A facial expression becomes suspicion. And little by little, your own mind starts acting like an enemy that never sleeps. The dangerous part is that overthinking rarely looks destructive from the outside. Intelligent people often hide it well. They still go to work, answer messages, smile in public, and continue their routines. But internally, their mind is running nonstop, analyzing every word, replaying every mistake, predicting every possible disaster before it even happens. And eventually, they become mentally exhausted without understanding why. In this video, you'll understand the dark psychology behind constant overthinking, why some people become trapped inside their own thoughts, how modern social behavior silently intensifies this mental pattern, and why overthinkers are often misunderstood by everyone around them. More importantly, you'll discover the hidden emotional mechanisms controlling your reactions, your relationships, your confidence, and even your sense of identity. Because once you finally understand what your mind has been doing in the dark, you start seeing people, emotions, and yourself very differently. And what you're about to hear may explain things you've been struggling with for years without realizing it. Before we start, subscribe if you're tired of surface-level advice and want to truly understand human psychology, emotions, and behavior. Like this video and comment awake if you've ever felt trapped inside your own mind. Trust me, this video might explain more about your life than you expect. If you can't control your emotions, people will control you. And honestly, a lot of people hearing that sentence right now probably felt uncomfortable for a reason. Because deep down, they already know their mind has been running the show for years. So before this video keeps going, stay until the end, because there's a specific pattern behind constant overthinking that most people never notice while it's destroying their peace in real time. And once you finally recognize it, you start catching it everywhere. In your habits, your relationships, even in the way you sit alone at night staring at your phone without actually doing anything. The strange thing about overthinking is that it rarely feels dangerous in the beginning. It feels responsible, mature, careful. You tell yourself you're just trying to understand things. So you replay conversations in your head. You analyze people's tone. You think about whether that text sounded cold. You wonder if you talk too much or not enough. And at first, it almost feels productive, like your brain is trying to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, disappointment. But after a while, something changes. The thoughts stop helping and start trapping. Suddenly, your mind isn't solving problems anymore. It's creating them. Tiny situations become emotional puzzles. A 5-minute interaction somehow turns into a 2-hour mental replay at 2 a.m. And people who don't overthink never fully understand how exhausting this is. They'll say things like, just stop thinking about it. Not realizing your brain doesn't have an off switch anymore. It's like having 50 browser tabs open in your head all day long. And one of them is always playing anxiety in the background. Even during normal moments, driving home, brushing your teeth, sitting in bed, your mind keeps dragging you back into old conversations, old mistakes, old fears. That's why overthinkers are often physically tired without doing anything physically difficult. Your body may be sitting still, but mentally, you've been fighting invisible battles all day. And modern life quietly feeds this pattern in ways most people don't even notice. Years ago, your brain wasn't exposed to this many opinions, comparisons, and emotional triggers every hour. Now, you wake up and immediately absorb stress before your feet even touch the floor. Notifications, news, social media, somebody getting engaged, somebody becoming successful, somebody posting a perfect life they probably don't even live in real life. And your brain starts comparing automatically before you even realize it. That comparison turns into pressure. Pressure turns into self-doubt. Self-doubt turns into mental noise. Then the overthinking begins again. What makes this worse is that overthinkers are usually highly self-aware people. They notice details others ignore. Small shifts in behavior, weird pauses in conversations, changes in energy. The problem is that awareness without emotional control becomes torture. Because when your brain notices everything, but your nervous system treats every detail like a threat, you stop feeling safe around uncertainty. And life is built on uncertainty. Relationships are. Friendships are. Human interaction is. That's why some people slowly become emotionally exhausted without understanding why they suddenly feel disconnected from everyone around them. You can actually see this happen in everyday situations. Someone sends a short reply. Most people move on. An overthinker reads it 5 times trying to figure out what changed. Someone leaves you on read for 2 hours. Rationally, it means nothing. Emotionally, your brain starts building entire stories. Did I say something wrong? Are they losing interest? Was I annoying? And the scary part is that your body reacts as if those imagined scenarios are real. Heart rate changes, mood changes, energy drops, all because your brain learned how to emotionally react to possibilities instead of reality. That's why constant overthinking slowly steals your ability to be present. You're technically living your life, but mentally you're always somewhere else, replaying the past or rehearsing the future. Very few people realize how much life they miss because their mind never allows them to fully arrive in the moment they're actually living. Even happy moments get interrupted. You could be laughing with friends and suddenly remember something embarrassing from 3 years ago. You could receive love from someone and still question whether it's genuine. The mind becomes suspicious of peace itself. And eventually, this creates a strange kind of loneliness that's hard to explain to other people. Not physical loneliness, psychological loneliness. The feeling that nobody fully understands how loud your mind gets when you're alone. Because from the outside, you look normal, functional, calm even, but internally, it feels like your thoughts are constantly pulling you in different directions at once. And after enough time living like that, many people stop trusting their own emotions completely. They begin second-guessing everything, reactions, decisions, instincts, even their own personality. What's unsettling is that many overthinkers don't realize they've been emotionally adapting to disappointment for years. Little by little, the brain starts treating vulnerability like danger. And once that happens, even connection starts feeling risky. Not because people are necessarily trying to hurt you, but because your mind became trained to expect emotional pain before it even arrives. Here's the part nobody talks about enough. A lot of overthinkers don't actually struggle because they care too much about people. They struggle because deep down they stopped feeling emotionally safe around people a long time ago. And when that happens, your personality slowly changes without you even noticing it. Not all at once. Quietly, gradually, like a room getting darker so slowly your eyes adjust before you realize the light is gone. At first, it looks harmless. You become more careful. You stop opening up too fast. You start thinking before responding. You observe more, talk less, and honestly, after being misunderstood, ignored, manipulated, ghosted, or emotionally drained enough times, that kind of caution feels smart. Your brain starts telling you, don't let people know too much. So now every interaction becomes filtered, controlled, measured. You laugh, but not too much. You text back, but not too quickly. You want connection, but the second someone gets too close, your mind suddenly starts searching for danger. And this is where overthinking starts ruining relationships that haven't even had the chance to become real yet. Because while other people are simply experiencing moments naturally, overthinkers are trying to decode them. You're sitting at dinner with someone, but half your attention is analyzing their tone changes. You're hanging out with friends, but your mind suddenly wonders if they secretly tolerate you instead of actually liking you. You post something online, then check who viewed it, who ignored it, who stopped interacting lately. It sounds irrational when said out loud, but emotionally, it feels real in the moment. That's why this pattern becomes so exhausting. You're constantly reacting to emotional possibilities instead of actual facts. And the scary part? Most people around you never see this internal battle happening. They just think you became distant. They think you're harder to read now, more cold, more reserved, less expressive. But what they don't understand is that many overthinkers didn't become emotionally distant because they stopped caring. They became emotionally guarded because they cared too much for too long without feeling safe doing it. There's actually research showing that people who constantly overanalyze social interactions tend to experience higher emotional fatigue and lower relationship satisfaction over time. Not because they're weak, because the brain was never meant to stay emotionally alert 24 hours a day. Imagine trying to relax while your nervous system treats every silence like a warning sign. Eventually, your body starts carrying tension even during normal conversations. And modern dating culture makes this even worse. Think about it. People communicate more than ever now, but trust each other less than ever too. Mixed signals became normal. Ghosting became normal. Dry texting became normal. People disappear without explanation, then come back pretending nothing happened. So naturally, the overthinking brain adapts to unpredictability by becoming hyper-aware. It starts trying to prepare emotionally before pain arrives. But there's a cost to living like that. You stop acting naturally. You stop saying what you really feel. You rehearse conversations before sending messages. You delete texts 5 times before pressing send. You read into pauses. You notice energy shifts instantly. And after a while, your relationships stop feeling spontaneous. They start feeling mentally exhausting. One of the saddest parts about this is that overthinkers are often the people who crave genuine connection the most. They want depth, loyalty, emotional honesty, real conversations, real understanding. But because they've been disappointed enough times, they begin approaching relationships like someone carrying invisible bruises. Even when nobody is actively hurting them, their mind remembers what pain felt like before. So now, instead of enjoying people, they monitor people. And eventually, they start isolating themselves in subtle ways. Not dramatic isolation, quiet isolation, taking longer to reply, avoiding vulnerability, staying emotionally half-present, pulling away before attachment becomes too strong, telling themselves they enjoy being alone, while secretly feeling emotionally disconnected from almost everyone around them. That's why some people can sit in a crowded room and still feel deeply lonely. Because loneliness isn't always about being physically alone. Sometimes it comes from feeling psychologically unseen, misread, emotionally disconnected even while surrounded by people. And after enough time living in this state, something even stranger starts happening. The overthinking no longer stays focused on other people. Turns inward. At some point, overthinking stops being about other people. It becomes about you. That's the part that catches people off guard. Because in the beginning, your mind was only trying to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, heartbreak, failure. But after years of living in a constant state of emotional alertness, something shifts internally. The same brain that once tried to keep you safe slowly starts turning against you. And most people don't even notice when that transition happens. You see it in little things first. You hesitate before making simple decisions. You over-explain yourself. You second-guess messages you already sent. You keep asking yourself if you're doing enough, saying enough, being enough. And eventually, your mind creates this exhausting habit where every choice feels loaded with pressure. Even tiny decisions start feeling weirdly heavy. What should have been a normal moment suddenly feels like something that could go wrong. So instead of acting naturally, you freeze. You delay. You analyze. And while your body stays still, your brain keeps sprinting in circles. A lot of people living like this don't even realize how tense they've become physically. Their jaw stays tight. Their shoulders stay stiff. Their breathing becomes shallow without noticing. Even resting doesn't feel like rest anymore because mentally, they're still preparing for something bad to happen. That's why some people feel exhausted the second they wake up, even after sleeping 8 hours. Their body went to bed, but their mind never actually stopped. And honestly, one of the darkest parts of constant overthinking is how it slowly changes your identity. Not dramatically, quietly. You stop trusting your natural reactions. You stop speaking freely. You stop feeling emotionally spontaneous. You become hyper-aware of yourself in every environment. Suddenly, you're monitoring your own behavior while it's happening. How you sound, how you look, whether you're awkward, whether people are judging you, whether you're being annoying. It's almost like splitting into two people at once. The version of you trying to live, and the version analyzing every move you make while you're living it. That's mentally exhausting. And social media made this 10 times worse. Because now people don't just compare their lives anymore. They compare personalities, social skills, humor, success, appearance, confidence, emotional control. People scroll through perfectly edited versions of strangers every single day, then quietly question themselves in silence afterward. And even when they logically know most of it is fake, emotionally, the comparison still hits. That's why so many people today feel disconnected from themselves. They've spent years trying to become emotionally acceptable instead of emotionally real. And overthinkers feel this deeply, especially at night. There's something about nighttime that makes unresolved thoughts louder. The distractions disappear, the room gets quiet, and suddenly every buried emotion starts resurfacing. Regret, embarrassment, fear about the future, loneliness, old memories your brain randomly drags back like unfinished business. Sometimes it's not even one major problem. It's dozens of tiny emotional weights piling on top of each other until your mind feels overcrowded. And here's the strange part. Most overthinkers are incredibly compassionate toward other people. They understand emotional pain deeply. They notice when someone's energy changes. They think carefully before hurting others. But they rarely offer that same patience to themselves. Instead, their inner voice becomes brutal. They replay mistakes that nobody else even remembers. They criticize themselves for things they'd instantly forgive in someone they loved. And after enough time, self-awareness quietly transforms into self-destruction. This is why constant overthinking often leads people into emotional numbness without them realizing it. Not explosive sadness, not dramatic breakdowns, just this slow emotional fading where nothing feels fully exciting anymore. Conversations feel draining. Motivation disappears faster. Even happiness starts feeling temporary, like your brain is waiting for something to ruin it. And the worst part is how normal this becomes. People get so used to mental chaos that peace starts feeling unfamiliar. Silence feels uncomfortable. Calm feels suspicious. A good day feels temporary. So the brain keeps searching for problems even when there aren't any. But there's something important most people never hear enough. Your thoughts are not always telling you the truth. A fearful brain can create stories that feel emotionally real long before they're logically real. And when you spend years reacting to imagined outcomes instead of present reality, you slowly lose touch with the moment you're actually living in. That realization changes something. Because the goal isn't to stop thinking. That's impossible. The real shift happens when you stop treating every thought like a warning signal. And for a lot of people, that's the moment their mind finally stops feeling like a prison. And maybe that's the real problem with constant overthinking. Not the thoughts themselves, but how much life quietly disappears while you're trapped inside them. How many moments get interrupted by fear? How many relationships become harder because your mind keeps preparing for pain before happiness even has the chance to arrive? A lot of people spend years trying to control every possible outcome, only to realize they were never truly living in the present to begin with. And the truth is, the human mind is powerful enough to build a future, but also powerful enough to destroy your peace if left unchecked. That's why emotional control matters so much. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you stop allowing fear, anxiety, and imagined scenarios to control your identity, your confidence, and the way you experience the world around you. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are not the loudest, the smartest, or the most confident. They're the ones who learned how to sit with uncertainty without letting it consume them. The ones who stopped fighting every thought and started understanding themselves instead. So tonight, when your mind starts replaying old conversations, creating worst-case scenarios, or convincing you that you're falling behind in life, remember this. Not every thought deserves your energy. Not every fear deserves your attention. And not every silence means something is wrong. Sometimes peace begins the moment you stop treating your own mind like an enemy. If this video made you see yourself differently, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week we break down the hidden psychology behind human behavior, emotional control, relationships, overthinking, loneliness, mental strength, and the patterns most people never notice in themselves. Leave a like if even one part of this video felt personal to you. That really helps this channel reach more people dealing with the same silent battles. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which part hit you the hardest today? Also, if you stayed until the very end, comment the number 7 below. It's always interesting seeing who actually makes it all the way through these conversations. And don't leave yet. Click the video on the card appearing on your screen right now, because it connects perfectly with everything you just heard here. Then go through the full playlist after that, because the deeper you understand human psychology, the more control you gain over your emotions, your habits, and your life.